The vote on the dismissal of technology director Ethan Carter will now begin. The cold voice came from Nathan Bennett, the group's president. He sat at the head of the long conference table, his gaze sweeping over each person before finally landing on me. Without a trace of warmth. Those in favor of Ethan Carter's departure, please raise your hands. The moment the words left his mouth, a pale, elegant hand shot up without hesitation. That was my wife of 3 years, Olivia Bennett, and the only daughter of Nathan Bennett himself. Today she wore a perfectly tailored Chanel suit, her makeup flawless, her eyes carrying a faint trace of barely concealed disgust and contempt, as if I weren't her husband, but a burden she was desperate to shed. The conference room fell into dead silence. Everyone's eyes darted between Olivia and me, probing, sympathetic, and gleefully malicious. Olivia was the company's vice president, overseeing HR and finance. Her vote was practically the final verdict. Then came Samuel Song, the marketing director, the man who'd always smiled to my face while stabbing me in the back. He raised his hand second, even shooting Olivia a fawning smile. Then the third, the fourth. Familiar faces, unfamiliar faces, colleagues who'd once greeted me with warm smiles. Now they were all my executioners. I didn't look at Nathan Bennett at the head of the table, my father-in-law. His silence was his consent. I straightened my back, my face betraying nothing. 3 years ago, I'd been recruited as a technical specialist, personally brought in by Nathan Bennett to develop the group's most critical project, the Apex system. For this project, I'd pulled countless all-nighters, given up every holiday, and even on our wedding anniversary, I'd left Olivia alone at a French restaurant because of an emergency system patch. Now, Apex had become the group's crown jewel, generating billions in annual revenue. And I, the creator of this system, was being kicked to the curb. Ethan, do you have anything to say? Nathan Bennett's voice cut through again, carrying a perfunctory, bureaucratic tone. I smiled and scanned the room. No. My gaze finally settled on Olivia's face. I agree to the termination. I picked up the separation agreement, didn't bother reading it, and signed my name at the bottom. Bold strokes, pressing hard through the paper. Olivia's eyes flickered with surprise. She hadn't expected me to be so decisive. In her mind, I should have fought back, made excuses, groveled like a beaten dog for their mercy. I slid the signed agreement to the center of the table, stood up, and adjusted my suit jacket. Everyone. Until we never meet again. With that, I turned and walked away, without a trace of hesitation. Just as my hand reached for the conference room door, Olivia's icy voice stopped me. Stop. I paused but didn't turn around. That core program. Did you hand it over? Her voice carried an unmistakable commanding tone, as if interrogating a subordinate who'd screwed up. I could feel every pair of eyes in the room boring into my back. This was their real objective today. I had built Apex from scratch. The core algorithms, the underlying architecture. No one else could fully understand it. They wanted me out, but they couldn't function without my technology. Slowly, I turned around. For the first time, a smile spread across my face, a sneer laced with mockery and disdain. Apex. I looked at Olivia, enunciating each word. Deleted. What? Olivia's face went pale, and she shot up from her seat so violently that her chair toppled backward with a screech. Ethan. Say that again. She wasn't the only one. The entire room erupted. Deleted. How dare he? He's insane. That's the company's lifeline. We're screwed. What about next quarter's product launch? At the head of the table, Nathan Bennett's face darkened to a stormy gray, his eyes cutting into me like knives. Ethan, do you have any idea what you're saying? This isn't just professional misconduct. This is corporate sabotage. Samuel Song jumped in, pointing at me with self-righteous indignation. I shot him a cold glance. Who asked for your opinion? Samuel's face flushed crimson, but he didn't dare say another word. My gaze returned to Olivia, my smile widening. Can't understand plain English. I said every single character I wrote. I deleted it with my own hands. Not a single byte left. I paused, as if remembering something amusing, and added, oh, And here's some good news for you. From my pocket, I pulled out a folded piece of paper and waved it in front of them. Just last week, I filed for software copyright on the core algorithms and architecture of the Apex system. In my own name. This is a copy of the acceptance notice. According to the standard process, the official certificate will be issued next month. I placed the paper gently on the conference table. As light as a feather. Yet it set off a tsunami in the room. You. Olivia pointed at me. Trembling with rage. Unable to form another word. Nathan Bennett's breathing grew ragged. He stared at me. His eyes filled with shock. Fury. And something else. Fear. They all understood what this meant. It meant that, legally, Apex belonged to me. Ethan Carter. Personally, the system the company was currently using was infringing on my intellectual property. I could sue them at any moment for massive damages. Or even force them to stop using Apex entirely. For a group so dependent on it. That would be fatal. Ethan, why did you do this? Olivia's voice wavered. Whether from anger or fear. I couldn't tell. Why? I laughed. The most ridiculous question I'd ever heard. When you raised your hand to throw me out, did you ask yourself why? All of you. You used me like a piece of toilet paper. And now that you're done, you want to throw me in the trash. Did any of you ask why? 3 years. How much money did I make for this company? When you were all collecting bonuses, throwing parties, celebrating. Did any of you remember the programmer still working overtime in the office? My own wife. In front of the entire senior leadership. Put me on the chopping block for another man. And now you're asking me why. My voice wasn't loud. But every word landed like a slap across Olivia's face. Her complexion shifted from white to red to purple. A spectacular display. That's a lie. Samuel and I are innocent. She scrambled to defend herself. But her words rang hollow. Innocent. I laughed. Last month. On your birthday. I called you. You said you were shopping with your girlfriends. But I saw you walking out of that French restaurant with Samuel. And he was holding the blue roses you love so much. Last week. During the company retreat. You said you were tired and resting in your hotel room. But someone saw you and Samuel. One after the other. Going into the VIP section of the hot springs. Should I keep going? Olivia's lips trembled. Unable to form a single word. Samuel's face had also drained of color. He looked at Olivia in panic. Then at Nathan Bennett. Cold sweat beading on his forehead. Dad. Olivia turned to Nathan Bennett for help. But Nathan Bennett just stared at me with a look that could kill. Ethan. His voice was hoarse. Exhausted. What do you want? He was a businessman. He knew that when threats and intimidation failed, it was time to negotiate. What do I want? I shook my head. I don't want anything. I just want back what's mine. From today on. Every day you use Apex. You pay me a licensing fee. As for the price. I held up 3 fingers. Nothing too extreme. Just 30% of the group's annual profits. You're dreaming. Olivia shrieked. Then wait for the court summons. I shrugged indifferently. I turned. This time. No one dared to stop me. As I walked out of the conference room and closed the door behind me, I heard the sound of something shattering against the wall from inside. I took a deep breath, tilted my head back, and stared at the bright fluorescent lights on the ceiling. My eyes stung. 3 years of marriage. 7 years of love. All wasted on the wrong person. I didn't go back to the house Olivia and I had shared. That so-called home was nothing but a beautifully decorated prison. I checked into a hotel near the office. The first thing I did was turn off my phone. I could imagine the chaos at the Bennett household right now. Nathan Bennett and Olivia were probably using every means possible to contact me. Threats. Bribes. Whatever it took. But right now, I didn't want to hear any of it. I needed to clear my head. I needed to plan for the future. After a hot shower and a change of clothes, I felt like a new man. The man in the mirror had sunken eyes. Dark circles underneath. Messy hair. But his eyes burned brighter than ever before. That was the light of a man who had just broken free from his chains. I opened my laptop and connected to the hotel's Wi-Fi. A few unread emails were already waiting in my inbox. One was from a top-tier headhunting firm. They'd somehow caught wind of my departure and were already extending an offer. Several top tech companies, with positions and salaries that would make anyone's eyes water. Another was from my college mentor, Professor Zhang. He'd been my guide into the world of programming, and one of the few people I truly respected. His email didn't pry into why I'd left. He just said that if I was tired, I was always welcome back at the university. The lab doors were always open for me. Reading my mentor's warm words, my eyes grew misty. Over the years, I'd buried myself in work, letting my connections with the outside world wither away. I'd become an island. Only now did I realize I wasn't alone after all. I closed my email and logged into an encrypted developer community. A few years back, I'd built this platform with a group of like-minded friends. It brought together some of the most elite hackers and programmers from around the world. I posted a thread. Apex is dead. Pour one out for it. Going solo now. Taking on all kinds of technical challenges. Highest bidder wins. Within a minute of posting, dozens of replies flooded in. Holy shit. The Godfather is back in business. Wait. Weren't you working for your father-in-law? What happened? Man, you guys are behind. Didn't you see the news today? The Godfather just nuked his wife's company. For real. Give us the details. The inside scoop. The Godfather is a legend. This is what we all aspire to. Love. Family. Just lines of code in the grand scheme of things. Reading these goofy comments from internet strangers, I couldn't help but laugh. The bitterness in my heart began to fade. Soon, an encrypted private chat request popped up. The profile picture was a black skull. Ethan, I heard you're single now. It was Jasmine Cheen, one of the community's founders and one of my few close friends in the digital world. She was an even better programmer than me. Yet she'd chosen to become a CEO. Her company, Nexus Technologies, had emerged as a dark horse in the AI space in recent years, and also happened to be the Bennett Group's fiercest competitor. News travels fast. I replied. The whole circle's buzzing. Word is you went scorched earth and took down your wife's company over some code. Jasmine sent back, along with an amused emoji. Need me to help you issue a statement clearing things up? No. I replied. I really did delete the code. And I really did file for the copyright. Badass. Jasmine responded with just 2 words, followed by a string of thumbs up emojis. What's your plan now? Not sure yet. Think I'll take some time off first. Come work for me. Jasmine said directly. The CTO position has always been yours. Name your salary. And I'll throw in 10% of the original shares. I had to admit, that was an incredibly tempting offer. Nexus Technologies might not be as big as the Bennett Group, but its growth trajectory was fierce. And its technical culture was far better. If I joined, with my skills and Jasmine's business acumen, we could turn Nexus into an industry giant within 3 years. But I hesitated. I didn't want to work for anyone anymore. Not even a friend. Thanks. But I want to do my own thing. I declined. Figured. Jasmine replied, sounding unsurprised. Then let's partner. I'll put up the money and resources. You bring the tech. Together, we'll knock the Bennett Group off its pedestal. Her words radiated confidence and ambition. You have something against the Bennetts? I asked. No grudge. I just don't like them. She replied bluntly. Nathan Bennett is an old-school businessman. Rigid thinking. Chaotic management. Surviving on early connections and squeezing his employees. Companies like that deserve to be left behind by the times. And you, my friend, are the one who's about to ring their death knell. I fell silent. Jasmine's words struck a chord deep inside me. I need to think about it. Take your time. I'll be here. Reach out anytime. After ending the conversation with Jasmine, I closed my laptop and lay in bed. But sleep wouldn't come. My mind kept replaying scene after scene from the past 3 years. How did Olivia and I end up here? Olivia and I had met at an industry summit. Back then, I was just an up-and-coming tech star, known in certain circles for an open-source project I'd created. She was the Bennett Group's heiress. A princess adored by everyone. She walked up to me, glass in hand, smiling warmly. Hi, Ethan. I saw your project. It's brilliant. In the sunlight, Her smile sparkled brighter than the champagne bubbles in her glass. I admit it. I fell for her right then. Later, she started asking me out to dinner, to movies, to parties with her friends. She'd listen patiently as I rambled on about boring technical concepts. She'd bring me hot late-night snacks when I was pulling all-nighters coding. She made me believe she genuinely appreciated my talent, not just what I could do for her. Our relationship moved fast. And soon we were talking about marriage. Nathan Bennett initially opposed it. He thought I came from a humble background and couldn't measure up to the Bennett family status. It was Olivia who'd gone on a hunger strike to force him to relent. I was so moved I'd sworn to myself I would treat Olivia right for the rest of my life. I would achieve something great and make Nathan Bennett respect me. After the wedding, I joined the Bennett Group as technology director. Nathan Bennett entrusted me with the most critical project, Apex. He said it was both a test and an opportunity. I took it as my father-in-law's acknowledgement. I dove in head first, working day and night, determined to prove myself. I naively believed that if I did well enough, I'd earn their respect, truly become part of the family. But reality gave me a rude awakening. After our marriage, Olivia seemed to become a different person. She was no longer the girl who'd eat street food with me or get excited over a simple program I'd written. She started criticizing my clothes, my friends, my lack of anything beyond code. She threw herself into luxury brands and high society galas. I was always the awkward +1 trailing behind her, never quite fitting in. Our arguments grew more frequent. Ethan, can you please stop wearing that plaid shirt? I bought you so many nice clothes. Can you spend more time with me? I don't want a husband who only stares at his computer screen all day. Look at other women's husbands. They're CEOs or investors. You're just a code monkey. Each fight carved a deeper chasm between us. I tried to communicate. I tried to fix things. I learned to wear the suits she liked, drink the expensive wine I couldn't even taste, and make small talk with her materialistic friends. But the harder I tried, the more suffocated I felt. I realized we were from two different worlds. The final straw was Samuel's song. Samuel was Olivia's college classmate, her so-called guy friend. He was slick-talking, smooth, and a master of flattery. When he joined the company, Olivia placed him in marketing and fast-tracked him to director. Rumors started circulating. People said I, the technical director, was nothing but a kept husband, easily replaceable. They said Samuel was Olivia's true love, the future prince consort. At first, I didn't believe it, until the day I saw Olivia and Samuel walking out of that restaurant, the one I'd booked weeks in advance for her birthday. Samuel was carrying a bouquet of blue roses, the flowers she loved, the ones I'd always hated. That was the moment I felt like a complete fool. I didn't confront them. I chose silence instead. I started quietly gathering evidence. I started covering my bases. I backed up Apex's core code to a secure cloud server using a special encryption method. Then I filed for software copyright in my own name. I thought that day might come much later. Or maybe never. But Olivia was more impatient than I'd imagined. She couldn't even wait for our divorce. She was already eager to throw me out and make room for her precious Samuel. Fine. Now I could finally let go completely. My phone buzzed violently on the nightstand, jolting me from my thoughts. An unknown number. I hesitated, then answered. Ethan. It's your father. A voice, familiar yet foreign, came through the line. My heart sank. What do you want? My voice was cold, betraying nothing. Ever since my mother died, this so-called father had been nothing more than a biological connection. We hadn't spoken in nearly 10 years. I heard, you had a falling out with the Bennetts. His voice carried a cautious, probing tone. None of your business. I shot back. How is it none of my business? You're my son. Something this big happens. Of course I care. His voice suddenly rose, oozing with righteous fatherly concern. I almost laughed out loud. Care about me? How? The same way you cared 10 years ago, when you gambled away my mother's medical bills and watched her die in a hospital bed. The line went dead silent. I could hear his ragged breathing, like a wounded animal. Look, that was wrong of me. But she's gone. You can't hold a grudge forever. Right. After a long pause, he spoke again. His tone almost shameless. I'm calling to help you. Help me. I'd never heard anything so absurd. I heard you deleted the Bennett's core code and filed some kind of copyright. News travels fast. I laughed coldly. The Bennetts must not have been able to find me. So they started reaching out to people close to me. And my father was their first target. Ethan. Listen to me. What you did is illegal. The Bennetts are powerful. They have 100 ways to put you behind bars. His voice dripped with concern. You need to go back right now. Apologize to Mr. Bennett and your wife. And give them back what's theirs. If they see you're a first-time offender and family, they'll forgive you. Family. I repeated the word with bitter irony. If they really saw me as family, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Why are you so stubborn? His voice was growing impatient. You think filing some copyright will let you take them on? Let me tell you. You can't fight City Hall. It's not too late to back down. How much did the Bennetts pay you? I cut him off directly. What money? What are you talking about? I'm your father. Would I hurt you? He yelped like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. If they didn't pay you, you wouldn't be this eager to help me. My voice dripped with contempt. I know you too well. Your life motto is no profit, no action. You ungrateful brat. He sputtered with rage. Fine. Mr. Bennett said if I could talk you into handing over the copyright, he'd give me $1 million. $1 million. I laughed. So that's what I'm worth to you. $1 million. Ethan. Don't be stupid. $1 million is enough to build a mansion in your hometown and marry a beautiful woman. He was pleading now. You've burned bridges with the Bennetts. How are you going to survive out there? Just take the money. Go home. And live a normal life. Keep the money. I said flatly. And don't call me again. I don't have a father. I hung up and blocked the number. Lying back against the headboard, I felt sick to my stomach. This was my biological father. A man who'd sell anything, including his own son, for money. The Bennetts had played this card perfectly. They knew I cared about family. And they thought a guilt trip would break me. But they'd miscalculated. I, Ethan Carter, was no longer the pushover I used to be. My phone buzzed again. This time it was Olivia's mother. My mother-in-law, Lily Bennett. I declined the call. A text message came through seconds later. Ethan. This is Mom. Whatever misunderstanding you and Olivia have, come home and talk it out. Don't be stubborn. Your father's heart isn't good. Don't give him a heart attack. We're still counting on you and Olivia to give us a grandchild. Reading the words mom and home in that message felt bitterly ironic. I typed back, Mrs. Bennett. I think you're mistaken. Olivia and I don't have a home anymore. As for that grandchild, you should ask Samuel. Not me. I blocked Lily Bennett's number too. Finally. Peace. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. My mind blank. I don't know how long passed before the doorbell rang. Assuming it was housekeeping, I got up and opened the door without thinking. Standing outside was someone I never expected to see. It was Olivia. She'd traded her power suit for a cream-colored dress. Her face bare of makeup. Her hair loosely pulled back. She looked exhausted. In her hands, she carried a thermal food container. From my favorite private kitchen. How did you find me here? I blocked the doorway, making no move to let her in. I can find you if I want to. Her voice was hoarse. Her eyes red and puffy. Is this about Apex? Then we have nothing to talk about. My tone was ice cold. Can't we just talk? She looked up at me, eyes pleading. What's left to say? I shot back. Ethan. I know I was wrong. She lowered her head, voice trembling. I shouldn't have treated you like that in the meeting. I shouldn't have gotten so close to Samuel. I just wanted to prove myself. Prove yourself. I laughed bitterly. By stepping on me. That's not what I meant. She rushed to explain. Ever since you developed Apex, everyone in the company said the Bennett Group couldn't survive without you. Dad was trusting you more and more. He even talked about handing the company over to you. I was scared. Ethan. I was afraid the company would become yours. Afraid you'd push our family aside. Like some ancient emperor taking over the throne. So I promoted Samuel to balance you out. I wanted Dad. And everyone else. To see that Olivia Bennet wasn't just some woman who needed a man. I could manage the company too. Listening to this heartfelt confession, all I felt was disgust. So this is all my fault. I'm not blaming you. You're just selfish. I cut her off. Olivia. You never really understood me. I never wanted your father's company. All I ever wanted was a stable home and a wife who loved me. But you. What did you see me as? A threat to your position. A tool to be discarded. That's not true. She shook her head, crying. I love you, Ethan. I really do. Love. I laughed. Laughed so hard I almost cried. Your love is stabbing me in the back and shoving me off a cliff. Your love is fooling around with another man and expecting me to swallow my pride. Olivia. Keep your cheap love. I don't want it. It's dirty. My words cut like a blade straight through her heart. Her face went pale. And she swayed on her feet, nearly collapsing. The thermal container slipped from her hands and crashed to the floor. Soup and food splattering everywhere. Ethan, is there really no going back? She looked up at me through tear-filled eyes, making one last desperate plea. I looked at her and felt nothing. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. The moment you raised your hand, there was no going back. I closed the door, shutting her and that mess of a world out. I heard her muffled sobs through the door. But I didn't open it again. Some mistakes can never be undone. I walked back to my room, picked up my phone, and dialed Jasmine Cheen's number. I've made my decision. Let's partner up. The partnership with Jasmine went smoothly. She was a force of nature. Decisive. Efficient. Unstoppable. We met the next day and registered a new company. We called it North Star Technologies. I contributed the copyright of Apex as my equity stake. 60% ownership. And took the roles of CEO and CTO. Jasmine's company, Nexus Technologies, served as our angel investor, injecting $50 million in startup capital and providing office space, legal support, finance, and more. In exchange for 30% equity. The remaining 10% I set aside as an options pool for future employees. No sooner had the company been founded than I sent a formal cease and desist letter to the Bennett Group. On behalf of North Star Technologies, I demanded they immediately stop infringing on my intellectual property and pay $50 million in damages. That letter landed like a bomb in the industry. No one had expected me, the kept husband who'd been kicked out, to turn around and sue my former employer. And for $50 million. No less. Whispers spread like wildfire. Some called me foolish. A small fish taking on a whale. Others called me ungrateful. A snake in the grass. But some admired my courage, saying I'd given every mistreated employee a voice. The Bennett Group responded quickly. They held a press conference, with Olivia personally taking the stage. At the podium, she tearfully accused me of crimes. She claimed Apex was a work-for-hire and all IP belonged to the company. She said I'd abused my position to steal trade secrets and was now biting the hand that fed me. She even hinted at our personal conflicts, suggesting this was all out of revenge. I had to hand it to Olivia. She knew how to work the media. She painted herself as the victim, betrayed by her husband and betrayed by her employee. The public ate it up. Online, the hate campaign against me exploded. Scumbag. Living off his wife's money and still acting so righteous. Support Ms. Bennett. People like him should be put behind bars. Twisted morals. No decency. Send him to prison. Faced with all this vitriol, I stayed silent. Because I knew. In court, what mattered wasn't who shouted louder or acted better. What mattered was evidence. And I had the smoking gun. Before the trial, the Bennett Group's legal counsel, a lawyer named Mr. Lee, came to see me. He brought Nathan Bennett's goodwill. Mr. Carter, Mr. Lee said with a mediator's smile. Mr. Bennett says we're still family. There's no need to make this so ugly. If you drop the lawsuit and hand over the copyright, Mr. Bennett is willing to let bygones be bygones. And give you an additional $10 million. $10 million. I laughed. You're joking. Right. Mr. Carter. It's wise to leave room for reconciliation. Mr. Lee's face darkened. Don't assume your copyright claim is ironclad. We have ample evidence that Apex was a work for hire. You have no chance of winning this case. Is that so? I pulled another document from my drawer and slid it across the table. Maybe you should take a look at this. Mr. Lee. Mr. Lee picked up the document with a puzzled expression. After one glance, his face went pale. It was a technology development cooperation agreement I'd signed with the Bennett Group 3 years ago, when I first joined. The agreement explicitly stated that I was retained as a technical consultant to develop the Apex system. IP ownership would be negotiated separately. And crucially, the agreement was signed between me as an individual, not as an employee. Legally speaking, I wasn't an employee. I was a partner. The Apex system was a collaboration, not a work for hire. That's impossible. Mr. Lee's voice trembled. Where did this document come from? I've never seen it. Because this agreement exists in only 2 copies. One with your boss. And one with me. I spoke calmly. Your boss was quite eager to bring me on board back then. Black and white. Clear as day. Now, Mr. Lee, do you still think I have no chance? Mr. Lee's face was as white as paper. He knew this case was lost. Mr. Lee left in a daze. I knew he'd report the agreement's contents to Nathan Bennett immediately. Now it was Nathan Bennett's turn to sweat. Sure enough. Within hours, Jasmine called me. Ethan. Guess what? Bennett Group's stock took a nosedive at opening. Down almost 5%. Her voice was gleeful. Looks like that agreement did the trick. I wasn't surprised. The Bennett Group was publicly traded. Any whiff of trouble would spook investors. Once news of the IP infringement hit, investor confidence would be shattered. I hear Nathan Bennett blew up at the board meeting. Ripped Olivia and Samuel to pieces. Jasmine continued sharing her gossip. Samuel's been suspended pending investigation. Olivia's not fired. But her authority's been stripped down to nothing. Sweet justice. This is just the beginning. I said calmly. The best part's yet to come. The next day, court proceedings officially began. As expected, the Bennett Group approached me for a settlement. Their bottom line, $50 million in damages. Plus an annual licensing fee of $10 million. For most programmers, that would be a fortune. I turned it down. My terms are the same as before. I faced Nathan Bennett across the negotiation table. $50 million. Non-negotiable. And licensing fees. 30% of your company's net profits per year. Ethan. Don't push it. Nathan Bennett slammed the table. 30%. You might as well be robbing us. That's exactly what I'm doing. I met his glare without flinching. I'm taking back what's rightfully mine. 3 years ago, when you brought me in to build Apex, what did you promise me? You said when the project succeeded, I'd get 30% equity. Instead, you used your daughter as a bribe. You dangled a marriage in front of me to shut me up. Now I'm just getting what I was promised. Isn't that fair? Nathan Bennett was speechless. He never expected me to remember that verbal promise. Dad, don't waste your breath on him. Olivia couldn't hold back. He's lost his mind. We're not settling. Let's go to court. I refuse to believe the Bennett family can't beat him. Shut up. Nathan Bennett wheeled on her. If it weren't for your stupidity, we wouldn't be in this mess. It was the first time I'd ever seen Nathan Bennett yell at Olivia. Her eyes reddened instantly. But she dared not say another word. Ethan. Nathan Bennett turned back to me. Exhaustion in his voice. 30% is impossible. The board would never approve it. 10%. That's my final offer. 20%. I held up 2 fingers. And I want the Bennett Group to issue a public apology in national media. You admit you infringed on my IP. And you retract all the slander against me. About time you said something worth hearing. Jasmine cut in. Smugly satisfied. Ethan. You've waited long enough for this moment. Olivia and the rest of the Bennett family treated you like dirt. They deserve to eat their words in public. Nathan Bennett's face cycled through shades of purple and gray. He knew this condition was worse than the money. It meant admitting, to the whole world, that he'd been wrong. That he'd lost to a man he'd once dismissed as a worthless son-in-law. So, Mr. Bennett, what'll it be? I took a sip of tea. Calm and composed. The ball was entirely in my court. In the end, Nathan Bennett caved. When the company's survival was on the line, personal pride meant nothing. We signed the settlement agreement. The Bennett Group would pay me a lump sum of $60 million. Starting this year, they'd pay 20% of their annual net profits as licensing fees for Apex to my company, North Star Technologies. Within a week, they'd publish a full-page apology in 3 major financial newspapers, acknowledging the infringement, confirming I was the sole copyright holder, and offering their sincerest apologies. The outcome stunned everyone. Ethan Carter, a regular programmer, had taken on a corporate empire and won. And I'd won decisively. Suddenly, I was the talk of the tech world. Media outlets clamored for interviews. Investors waved blank checks at North Star Technologies. My personal reputation soared to unprecedented heights. Meanwhile, the Bennett Group plunged into crisis. Stock prices cratered. Executives jumped ship. Clients fled. A cascade of disasters had the once mighty giant teetering on the edge. I heard that Samuel's song was turned over to the police by Nathan Bennett himself, charged with embezzlement and leaking trade secrets. Olivia was stripped of all real power, reduced to a figurehead vice president. None of that mattered to me anymore. The divorce went smoothly. No property disputes. No child custody battles. On the day we walked out of the courthouse, the weather was beautiful. Sunlight warmed my skin. Olivia looked at me, hesitating. Something else? I asked. Ethan, can we still be friends? She asked cautiously. I looked at her. This woman I'd once loved. Gone was the arrogance and haughtiness. Only exhaustion and loneliness remained. No. I shook my head. Olivia, the best thing we can do is become strangers. I turned and walked away. I didn't look back. My life had turned a new page. She would remain in the past. With all the Bennett entanglements behind me, I could finally focus on building North Star Technologies. Jasmine brought in a top-tier management team. I threw myself into upgrading and rebuilding Apex. I gave it a new name, Dawn Star. I wanted it to guide the way forward, like the morning star illuminating the future of technology. Our first client was Jasmine's company, Nexus Technologies. They used Dawn Star to completely digitize their operations. The results were immediate. Operational efficiency jumped 50%. Costs dropped 30%. Dawn Star was an instant success. Soon, more clients followed. Second, third, and beyond. North Star Technologies entered hypergrowth mode. Within 6 months, our company valuation had multiplied tenfold. I'd gone from a hired hand to truly financially free. The first thing I did was buy the best plot I could find, next to my mother's grave, and relocate my grandparents' remains there. I knelt before their headstones and bowed 3 times. Mom, Grandma, Grandpa, I made it. I didn't let you down. Tears streamed down my face. Unbidden. With my career on track, life became simple and fulfilling. I no longer had to hustle for survival or twist myself into knots pleasing others. I could do whatever I loved. I spent most of my time in the lab, working with young, passionate engineers, exploring the endless possibilities of artificial intelligence. The pure joy of technology for technology's sake was something money couldn't buy. Occasionally, Jasmine and I would grab dinner and talk. We'd discuss tech, industry trends, the future. She was brilliant, always offering fresh perspectives. A lot of people thought we were dating. Our junior staff even started calling her the boss's lady. We just laughed it off. We were best friends, battle-tested partners, but not lovers. We'd both been burned by love before, and we approached new relationships with caution and respect. Maybe being lifelong friends was better. Anyway, one day, while testing a new algorithm in the lab, I got an unexpected call. It was my father. His voice sounded old and weak. "Ethan, it's me. What do you want?" My voice was still cold. I'm sick." He coughed. "The doctor says it's terminal. Stage 4 liver cancer." My heart clenched. As much as I hated him, he was still my only blood relative left. "Which hospital?" I asked. He gave me the name. I dropped everything and drove over. In the hospital room, I saw him. He lay in bed, emaciated, face covered in age spots. eyes dull and lifeless. When he saw me, his lips moved, but no sound came out. A middle-aged woman in simple clothes was caring for him. She stood when she saw me, looking nervous. "You must be Ethan. Right. Your father, he's been talking about you for so long." "Who are you?" I asked. "I'm your Auntie Wang. Your father and we've been together for years." I said nothing. I just looked at the man in the bed. He'd once been so big, so overbearing. Now he was a deflated balloon. Life slowly draining away. "What did the doctor say?" I asked Auntie Wang. "He said, at most 3 months. Her eyes reddened. "He doesn't want chemo. Doesn't want to suffer. He just wanted to see you one last time before he goes. He wronged you. He wronged your mother. He was a bastard his whole life. But in his heart, he did care about you. The $1 million the Bennetts gave him. He saved every cent. He never touched it. He said it was your money. He couldn't take it." Auntie Wang pulled a bank card from the nightstand and held it out to me. I stared at the card, feelings swirling. "Keep it," I told her. "For his treatment. And for your life after." What? "No." She waved her hands frantically. "That's your father's gift to you. He's not dead yet," I said flatly. I walked to the bedside. He looked at me. I looked at him. We stared at each other in silence. After a long moment, he reached out a shriveled hand. Reaching for me, I hesitated, then took it. His hand was cold and weak. "I'm sorry." With all the strength he had left, he forced out those 3 words. Tears spilled from his clouded eyes. In that moment, the hatred inside me just evaporated. I squeezed his hand. "Get better," I said. "Don't worry about money." I moved my father to the best private hospital in the city. I brought in top specialists. There was no cure, but we could ease his pain and buy him a little more time. I hired private nurses. I had nutritious meals delivered daily. Auntie Wang stayed by his side, caring for him tirelessly. His spirits lifted. Sometimes he'd even walk in the garden with a nurse's help. He started telling me stories from my childhood. How excited he'd been the first time I called him Dad. How he'd hidden in the crowd and clapped when I won my first programming competition. How he and my mother had once been happy. He said his greatest regret was gambling. It had destroyed his family and himself. He said he knew his sins were unforgivable, but he hoped I'd live well. I listened quietly. I didn't interrupt. This was his confession. Years too late. But finally here. Our relationship, in its own strange way, began to heal. I never told him I'd forgiven him, but I think he could feel it. One day, while I was peeling an apple for him, the hospital door opened. Olivia walked in. She looked even more haggard than the last time I'd seen her. Hollow eyes. Sallow skin. None of her former radiance remained. She saw me and froze. Eyes darting away. I heard your father was sick. I came to visit." She placed a fruit basket on the nightstand. "Thank you," I said flatly, continuing to peel the apple. My father looked at me, then at Olivia, and sighed. "Olivia. You and Ethan, sigh. Uncle. You should rest." Olivia cut him off, clearly not wanting to dwell on the topic. "I have things to do at the office. I'll be going now." She left quickly, like she was running from something. That girl. She's pitiful too. My father watched her retreating figure and shook his head. "I hear the Bennett Group is in bad shape." "Is that so?" I cut the apple into small pieces and handed them to him. "Business is war. Ups and downs are normal. You're not going to take revenge on them, are you?" He looked at me with concern. "I'm not that petty." I shook my head. "They didn't lose because of me. They lost because of themselves." The Bennett Group's problems ran deep. Years of mismanagement. Nepotism. Outdated tech. No innovation. Even without me, they would have fallen eventually. I just happened to be the one who pointed it out. Good. My father sighed with relief. An eye for an eye makes the whole world blind. Let the past stay in the past. I smiled but said nothing. Some things could be left behind. But some people could never go back. My father didn't survive the winter. He passed peacefully on a sunny afternoon. His last words to me were that his greatest pride in life was having me as his son. I arranged a simple funeral. Only close relatives attended. Auntie Wang cried bitterly. I offered her money to secure her future. She refused, saying my father had left her enough. She said she wanted to go back home and open a small restaurant. Live a quiet life. I didn't insist. I just made sure she got home safely. After my father's funeral, I felt completely drained. I took a long vacation and went to the mountains alone. I sat in the sun, watched the faithful bowing at the temples, gazed at the stars shifting over the lakes. I tried to find peace in those grand, sacred landscapes. But my heart remained still, like stagnant water, barely rippling. I realized that even after achieving everything society considered success, wealth, status, fame, I wasn't happy. Instead, a vast emptiness and confusion consumed me. I didn't know what I was supposed to do next. What was the point of it all? Just when I was at my most lost, Jasmine called. Ethan. Where are you? Her voice was crisp and efficient as always. The mountains. Get back here. Something huge is happening. What? The Bennett Group is going bankrupt. I froze. That fast. I'd expected them to decline. But not this quickly. It's never just one straw that breaks the camel's back. Jasmine said coldly. The Bennett Group's internal problems were worse than we thought. Their cash flow's been cut off for months. They've been robbing Peter to pay Paul. Your settlement was the final nail in the coffin. Now the banks are calling in loans. Suppliers are demanding payment. The whole company's in chaos. Nathan Bennett had a stroke. He's in the hospital. Unconscious. What about Olivia? I asked without thinking. Her. Jasmine laughed. She's a mess. Dealing with the company's collapse while taking care of her half-dead father. I hear she started selling off her luxury goods just to stay afloat. Funny how the tables turn. I fell silent. I felt no satisfaction. Just a heavy sadness. I never wanted to destroy them. I just wanted what was mine. I just wanted justice. Ethan. This is the perfect opportunity to acquire the Bennett Group, Jasmine said, pulling me back. Their core assets. Land. Factories. They're still valuable. If we buy them at the right price and restructure, we can turn it around in 3 years. What do you think? I hesitated. I don't want anything to do with them anymore. This isn't about them. It's about us. Jasmine pushed. The Bennett Group has decades of experience and market channels in traditional manufacturing. If we combine that with our tech, it's a goldmine. This is our stepping stone to becoming an industry giant. I had to admit, she was right. From a business perspective, this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Fine. I took a deep breath. You handle it. I authorize you to represent North Star Technologies in this acquisition. I knew you'd come through. Jasmine laughed. Wait for good news. I hung up and stared at the distant snow-capped peaks. Something clicked into place. Maybe the meaning of my life wasn't escaping the past or wallowing in personal drama. Maybe it was using my skills, my abilities, to create real value, to change the world, even just a little. I cut my vacation short and flew back. Jasmine moved fast. She'd already assembled an acquisition team to assess the Bennett Group's assets. The process went smoother than expected. The Bennett Group was desperate. So their asking price was low. The only competitors were vultures looking for a bargain. And we were far better positioned. We bought 51% of the Bennett Group at a fair price, becoming its largest shareholder. At the signing ceremony, I saw Olivia again. She signed the equity transfer agreement on behalf of the Bennett family. Her hand shook badly. When she finished, she looked up at me with complicated eyes. Ethan. You win. Her voice was hoarse and weak. I didn't win. And you didn't lose. I looked at her calmly. This was just a transaction. A transaction. She laughed bitterly. Yeah. A transaction. I traded my marriage, my family, everything, for your success. You should thank me. Thank you. I laughed coldly. Thank you for showing me who you really are. And thank you for making me stronger. She choked on her words, face flushing. Don't worry. I softened my tone. I won't destroy the Bennetts. Your father's medical bills. The company will cover them. The house you live in now is still yours. As long as you behave. I promise you'll never want for anything. Is this charity? Her pride bristled. Call it whatever you want. I shrugged. I just don't want people saying Ethan Carter is ungrateful. I turned and left the room without another look. From today on, the Bennett Group would enter a new era. An era that belonged to Ethan Carter. I personally took over as chairman and CEO of the new Bennett Group. My first move was sweeping reform. I fired the hordes of unqualified royal relatives and deadweight employees. I promoted young, capable, energetic leaders. I rolled out the Dawn Star system across every part of the business. Production, sales, management, a complete digital overhaul. I founded a new R&D center and invested heavily in next-generation smart manufacturing. These moves caused massive upheaval inside the company. Many didn't understand. Many opposed them. I crushed the opposition with an iron fist. Reform would hurt. But to save this sinking ship, we had to cut deep. Jasmine stayed by my side, offering unwavering support. She provided financial backing and strategic advice, helping me navigate countless thorny problems. We worked like clockwork. She handled the outside. I handled the inside. Gradually, the reforms bore fruit. Productivity soared. Quality improved. New orders flooded in. Our stock price bottomed out and skyrocketed. In just 1 year, I'd turned a bankrupt company into a thriving enterprise. Stronger than ever. I'd proven I was more than a brilliant programmer. I was a damn good executive too. With the company back on track, I finally had some free time. One day, Auntie Wang called. She hemmed and hawed before finally telling me why. Her niece, Sophie Su, had just graduated from college with a computer science degree and wanted to intern at my company. She knew I was busy, but her niece was my biggest fan and begged her to ask. I laughed and said sure. Have her send her resume to my email. I thought it was a small favor, but when I read Sophie's resume, I did a double take. She was a top graduate from a prestigious university, had won several national programming competitions, and, most importantly, she'd contributed to an open-source project in exactly the field I'd been following closely. I had HR schedule an interview immediately, and I showed up in person. Sophie was younger and prettier than I'd expected. She wore her hair in a simple ponytail, a plain white t-shirt and jeans, with the shy nervousness of a recent grad. But when she talked about tech, her eyes lit up with focus and confidence. The same light I'd once seen in my own reflection. The interview was a slam dunk. Sophie's technical skills were solid. Some of her ideas genuinely impressed me. I hired her on the spot, and placed her directly on my core R&D team. Sophie's arrival was like throwing a catfish into a pond. She was young, energetic, fearless. She brought a breath of fresh air to the mostly male team. She became a constant presence in my lab. We'd argue passionately over technical problems. We'd cheer together when we cracked a tough nut. We became teacher and student, mentor and protege, and good friends. I found myself looking forward to seeing her every day. She made me feel young again, full of passion and creativity. I started to realize I might be falling for her. That realization scared me. I wasn't a love-struck kid anymore. I'd been through a failed marriage. My heart had been shredded. I was terrified of being hurt again. And I was afraid my feelings would complicate her life. We had a 10-year age gap. And I was her boss. I started keeping my distance. I stopped mentoring her projects personally. I stopped having lunch with her. I stopped walking out together at the end of the day. I thought I could kill the seedling before it grew. But Sophie didn't seem to notice my change. She stayed warm, sunny, a little sunbeam warming me from the inside. She'd bring me coffee when I worked late. She'd tell me terrible jokes when I was exhausted. On my birthday, she made me a cake herself, decorated with a hand-drawn code diagram. I looked at that adorably ugly cake, and something in my chest cracked open. I couldn't push her away. At the company team-building dinner, everyone had a few drinks. Sophie's face was flushed, and she was a little unsteady on her feet. I was about to call a car to send her home when she grabbed my sleeve and wouldn't let go. "Boss, I have a question," she slurred. "What is it?" I asked, steadying her. Do you hate me?" She looked up at me with big, hurt eyes. "What? Of course not. Then why do you keep avoiding me? She pressed. You don't talk to me. You don't look at me. Did I do something wrong? No, you're great. I said quickly. I've just been busy. Liar. She pouted. You hate me. Is it because I'm too stupid? No. You're the smartest girl I know. I blurted out. Then, is it because I'm ugly? You're beautiful. The words came out before I could stop them. In the moonlight. Her cheeks were pink. Her eyes sparkled like clear water. My heart skipped a beat. Then why are you avoiding me? She wouldn't let it go. I was silent. What could I say? Boss. She leaned in close, standing on her tiptoes, and whispered in my ear. So softly only I could hear. I like you. My brain went blank. I could smell the faint scent of wine and her shampoo. I could feel her warm breath against my ear. Tingly. Electric. My heart thundered in my chest. Before I could finish, she let go and ran off. I'm going home. Bye. Boss. She disappeared into the night like a startled deer. I stood there for a long time. The night breeze cooled my racing mind. I pulled out my phone, stared at her number, hesitated, and didn't call. The next day, Sophie didn't come to work. She texted me saying she had a cold and needed a few days off. I knew she was avoiding me. My mind was a tangle of confusion. I didn't know how to face her, or how to face my own feelings. Just as I was agonizing, Jasmine showed up. Ethan. What's going on with you and that girl Sophie? She cut straight to the chase. Nothing. I said. A little too quickly. Nothing. Jasmine raised an eyebrow. That girl is pining away for you. And you're pretending nothing's going on. Ethan. I've known you for years. And this is the first time I've seen you chicken out. Jasmine didn't pull her punches. What are you afraid of? Age difference? Social status? Or do you think you don't deserve her? She'd left me speechless. I just don't want to hurt her. I finally said. Hurt her? Jasmine laughed. Doing nothing. That's what hurts her most. If you like her, go after her. If you love her, tell her. You're a grown man. Where's your courage? Jasmine's words hit me like a hammer. She was right. What was I so afraid of? I wasn't that broke nobody anymore. I had everything I needed to make her happy. Why should I let outdated societal rules stand in the way of love? I saw clearly at last. Thank you, Jasmine. I said sincerely. For what? Buy me dinner. She waved me off. Now go. Don't keep her waiting. I smiled, grabbed my keys, and ran out. I drove straight to Sophie's place. Auntie Wang answered the door. She didn't look surprised. If anything, she was grinning mysteriously. I knew you'd come. She pulled me inside. Sophie's in her room. She's been holed up since yesterday. Not eating. Not drinking. Go see her. I nodded. Walked to Sophie's door. Took a deep breath. And knocked. Who is it? I said I don't want to be disturbed. Her voice was muffled. It's me. I said. Silence. After a long moment, the door cracked open. Sophie peeked out. When she saw me, her face went bright red. Boss, what are you doing here? Checking on you. How's your cold? I couldn't help smiling at her flushed face. Better, much better. She mumbled, looking at the floor. Can I come in? I asked. She hesitated, then opened the door. Her room was clean and cozy. Her desk was piled with tech books, and the ugly programmer-themed doll I'd given her. Sophie. I looked her in the eyes. What you said last night. Did you mean it? Her face turned an even deeper shade of red. Like a ripe apple. She bit her lip and nodded. I smiled. I reached out and pulled her into my arms, holding her tight. She was soft. Warm. I like you too. I whispered in her ear. Not as your boss. As a man who loves a woman. I felt her stiffen in my arms, then slowly relax. She reached up and hugged me back. I thought, you'd never like someone like me, she said, her voice cracking. Fool. I ruffled her hair. How could I not like you? You're amazing. Then why did you avoid me? Because I was scared. I chuckled at myself. I was afraid I wasn't good enough for you. That's not true. She looked up. Eyes watery. You're the most amazing. Most accomplished person I know. I'm the one who's not good enough. In our world of programmers, it's not about who's good enough. It's about who's compatible. I booped her nose. And we're the perfect match. She laughed through her tears and nodded against my chest. Sunlight streamed through the window, wrapping us in warmth. We looked at each other, eyes locked, and time seemed to stop. I leaned down and kissed her. Her lips were soft, sweet, like cotton candy. It was gentle, light, and unforgettable. Our relationship spread through the company quickly. To my surprise, everyone was more finally than shocked. They all offered their congratulations. Jasmine went all out. She gave us a giant red envelope and declared she'd be our officiant. I laughed and said we weren't even engaged yet. She said she'd never been wrong about people. We were meant to be. I didn't know about meant to be, but I knew every day with Sophie was bright and joyful. She'd stay late in the lab with me, tackling tough technical challenges. She'd drag me to movies and trendy new restaurants. She'd share funny memes with me. She'd give me warm hugs when I was drained. She made me feel human. Not just a distant boss or a code-cranking machine. A real person with real feelings. I started learning to slow down. To enjoy life. To separate work from living. On weekends, I'd turn off my phone and take her to the park. On picnics, we were like any other ordinary couple, enjoying our precious time together. I proposed on a completely ordinary day. No flowers. No diamond ring. After a routine server maintenance session, I handed her the root access password to our company's new system. The highest level of privilege. This is everything I have. I told her. Now it's yours. From today on. You're the boss of this company. She stared at me, eyes shimmering with tears. Ethan. You idiot. She laughed through her tears. Who proposes with a server password? We're programmers. We do things the programmer way. I grinned. So, Sophie Sue, will you marry a man who has nothing but code? Yes. She was crying, laughing, throwing herself into my arms. Yes. I will. Of course I will. We kept the wedding simple. Only close friends and family. Jasmine got her wish. She was our officiant. She shared stories of our revolutionary friendship, got teary-eyed, and told me, Ethan, be happy, or I'll never forgive you. I smiled and nodded. I will. Married life was quiet and happy. Sophie didn't quit. She remained my CTO, my right hand, my partner. Together, we rode the AI wave, taking North Star Technologies to new heights. Our company grew. Our tech matured. We developed medical AI that assisted doctors in diagnosis. Smart prosthetics that helped the disabled walk again. Companion robots that kept lonely seniors company. We used technology to change the world. To help more people. The satisfaction of that was worth more than any money or status. Years later, Sophie had a baby. A son who, like his father, would babble at computer screens. We named him Ethan Jr. Little Ethan. I wanted him to be like code, structured, orderly, but never losing curiosity or wonder. With a child, I spent more time at home. I built Legos with him, watched cartoons. I shared chores with Sophie when she was tired. I cooked her dinner. Not gourmet, but made with love. I tried to be a good husband, a good father. I didn't want my child to go through what I had. One day, I was walking little Ethan around the neighborhood when I ran into someone I never expected. Olivia. She was older, more haggard than the last time. Streaks of gray in her hair. Deep lines around her eyes. She sat alone on a bench, staring at the sunset. She saw me. Saw my son. Her eyes dimmed for a moment. Then she forced a smile. More painful than a grimace. Long time no see. She said. Long time no see. I nodded. Awkward silence hung between us. Are you doing well? She broke the quiet. Pretty well. I said. You. Me. She laughed bitterly. Neither good nor bad. Just existing. I guess. My dad passed away last year. She said calmly. Like she was telling someone else's story. His last words were your name. He said he was sorry. Water under the bridge. I said quietly. Yeah. Water under the bridge. She sighed. Then looked at my son. He's adorable. Thank you. What's his name? Ethan Jr. Ethan Jr. She repeated, her eyes suddenly glistening. That's a good name. Ethan, could I hold him? She looked at me with a pleading gaze. I hesitated. I didn't want my son to have anything to do with this woman. But looking into her eyes, full of longing, full of regret, something in me softened. I handed my son to her. She took him carefully, like he was the most precious thing in the world. She pressed her cheek to his, closed her eyes, and breathed deeply. Tears streamed down her face. I didn't interrupt. I knew. In that moment, she wasn't just holding my son. She was holding her own lost youth. Her lost love. A past she could never return to. After that day, I never saw Olivia again. I heard she sold the Bennett family estate and moved abroad, disappearing without a trace. Maybe leaving that place was her own fresh start. I hoped she found her peace. As for Samuel Song, I caught news of him later in a financial report. After his release, he'd started a small renovation business. In the photos, his face was lined. His hair had grayed. Nothing left of the smooth-talking charmer. Life had turned us all into the ordinary people we once despised. And I loved being ordinary now. I'd be thrilled all day when little Ethan drew a family portrait in kindergarten. I'd swell with pride when Sophie casually said, "Honey, you're great." North Star Technologies, under Sophie's management, had become a global AI leader. But I'd gradually stepped back from the spotlight. I handed day-to-day operations to a professional team. I went back to being a pure programmer. I started a non-profit open-source foundation, dedicated to providing a free, open platform for developers worldwide. I wanted to use my small power to help young dreamers, talented, ambitious kids who hadn't had the chances I'd had. I told Sophie about my vision. She was all in. She said that was the Ethan she knew, the one who cared about more than himself. One day, I was reviewing project applications at the foundation office when my phone rang. It was a young, nervous voice. Is this Mr. Ethan Carter? Yes. I'm your biggest fan. I've developed a new algorithm model, and I want to apply for your foundation support. Listening to that voice, I saw my younger self, just as nervous, just as full of dreams. I smiled warmly. Take your time. What's your project called? What change will it bring to the world? Silence on the line. Then, firm, proud. My project is called Legacy. I want it to follow your example. To use technology to light up more people's futures. My eyes welled up instantly. I looked out at the bright sunshine and felt richer than ever. Years passed. Time flowed like water. My son, Ethan Jr., had grown taller and more handsome than me. He hadn't become a programmer. He chose medicine. He said he wanted to help people with his skills, just like his dad. I was so proud. North Star Technologies had become a sprawling business empire, touching every aspect of people's lives. But Sophie and I still lived simple, ordinary lives. Our greatest joy was holding hands in the grocery store, going home, and cooking dinner together. Jasmine had found her own happiness. She'd married a university professor 10 years younger. He doted on her like a princess. At our gatherings, she'd show him off smugly, and we'd tease her for being a cougar. She'd just grin and call it the charm of a mature woman. Everything was wonderful. Like a dream so perfect it couldn't be real. Today was our 15th wedding anniversary. I'd secretly booked the restaurant where we had our first date. I'd bought sunflowers, her favorite. When I showed up with the bouquet, Sophie's hands flew to her mouth in surprise. "Ethan, do you like them?" I smiled. Yes. She took the flowers and hugged them tight, beaming like a little girl. "They're a little expensive, though. Worth it." I took her hand. "For you, anything is worth it." We sat by the window, just like we had years ago. Outside, the city's neon lights, cars streaming by. Inside, our smiles, our warmth, our love. "Ethan." Sophie looked at me seriously. "If time could go back, would you still choose me?" "Absolutely," I said without hesitation. "What about you?" I asked back. "If you knew I'd turn into a greasy, balding, preachy middle-aged man, Would you still choose me? Well, she drew it out. Then grinned. Of course I would. She leaned on my shoulder. Because you're my one and only hero. I looked at her. And the warmth in my eyes could melt the coldest winter. I pulled her close and held her tight. Thank you, my girl. For coming into my life. For making me a better man. And that's the story. Everyone. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe.